y'all. Welcome back to Straight Talk with Chris, where I am your host, Chris, obviously. Okay, y'all, for real, I need some help. Help me come up with a bomb introduction because I feel like I'm starting to sound repetitive and low-key corny. So, yes, send me a DM, leave me a comment on Instagram, and help your girl out. I need a bomb introduction. Like, somebody help me. But anyways, welcome back. If this is your first time listening to an episode or on my podcast, hello, welcome. How are you doing? I'm Crystal, but you can call me Chris for short. For those who already follow me on Instagram, then you already know what today's topic is. For those who are not following me, like I said, go ahead and follow me. Straight Talk with Chris. Today's topic will be aftermath of a toxic relationship. But before we get into that, shout out to, those who gave me feedback on episode 2, Leveling Up as a Black Man, featuring Jody Joe. Yes, he did an awesome job. Just being transparent. It was everything. I got a lot of feedback, from people saying that his story really inspired them, encouraged them. A lot of people were going through what he was going through, and it just had me overjoyed, y'all. Like, for real, I couldn't wait to tell him, the feedback that he got, really, because he took over the show. It was really his show. But it was everything, and that's what the show is all about. People getting something from the stories and being able to, relate and get some encouragement from it. That's what it's about. So shout out to Jody Joe once again for doing that podcast. Super, super dope. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram if you're not following me. Once again, Straight Talk with Chris. Go ahead on over there. Follow me so you can stay updated with new episodes. That is, Black-owned businesses that are being promoted on the page. Just the deets, y'all. Follow the page to stay updated. And let's get right into episode 3. Grab your drink. Look, my drink is already gone. Like, y'all, for real, I had to just limit myself because I felt myself starting to trip. So I'm like, okay, you want to drink or you want to do the podcast? So I chose to do the podcast. So yeah, grab your drink, grab whatever it is you do, sit back, relax, and let's get into episode 3, aftermath of a toxic relationship. When you think of toxic, what does that mean to you? What does toxic mean to you? It can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So with that being said, I got the definition of what toxic is, and this is what the definition is. Poisonous, very harmful or unpleasant in a pervasive or insidious way. So what stood out to me in this definition was insidious, which to me means demonic, just scurry. And for me, I've been in a toxic relationship, and I'm going to be talking about that today. I'm not going to really go into too much detail, but I do want to be transparent, and just give my, little story just because, yeah. But like I said, that insidious stuck out to me, and I'm going to tell y'all later, excuse me, in the story why. So, a toxic relationship can be, you're dating someone. It could be a marriage. It could be a friendship. It can be a family member. It can be, your job. It can be church. It can mean so many different things. There's so many different ways a relationship can be toxic. But I'm going to talk about a dating relationship that I was in that was very, very toxic. And unfortunately, when you're in a toxic relationship, a lot of times you can't see that it's toxic, especially when you're so deep into it and feelings are there. You can't see it. Everyone around you can see it but you. And being on the outside looking in can be very hard, especially when it's somebody you love and you see them going through a toxic relationship, and nothing you say can change how they feel or change them or make them want to leave that person. it's sad and it's unfortunate, you know, but it's one of those things where you have to just let them go through it, because until they get tired, they're not going to leave. And anything you say is not going to make them or push them to leave. This is not. And I know this because, you know, I've been the person in the toxic relationship, and I've been the person witnessing somebody I care for in a toxic relationship. So I've been on both sides, but we're going to talk about me being in it. So I was in a toxic relationship for about 4 to 5 years. I think 4 years. It was so long ago that I can't really remember. I was very young when I was in this relationship, about 19. So I was very young, very naive, just very, very a little girl. That's what I was, a little girl. And you know, I just completely lost myself in that relationship. That relationship was physically, mentally, verbally abusive. It was just a horrible relationship. It really was. And the entire time it was horrible. Like when we first started dating, maybe 2 months, it was, you know, peaches and cream, you know, roses, heaven, scents, all the above. And by that 3rd month, it was like, okay, yeah, shawty turned all the way up on me. But in that 2 month span in the beginning, I had fallen so fast. Like I said, I was young, you know, and he was like a bad guy in the streets. And like really he was in the streets, and he was for the streets. He was for the streets, and I should have left him right there, but I didn't. So needs to say, I was all engulfed in that relationship. Every part of me was in that relationship. So it was hard for me to get out of it. And I completely lost myself, like I said. And I lost myself very, very fast, not even realizing how deep and how gone I was. Prior to me being with him, I had a lot going on for myself at such a young age, like a lot going on. Like I really did. And I feel like at that time I was really, really in my prime. But getting with him and him seeing that, you know, and he knew I was naive. You know, I wasn't really street smart at that time. I was smart, but not like, I had a lot of common sense, but just at that time, I just lost complete common sense with being with him. And a lot of stuff I hadn't experienced because I was raised in a very strict household. So it's like a lot of things I wasn't exposed to. So I just went into a lot of things blind. Just, I love him type of thing. And I just really thought that I could change him, or because I was different, you know, I felt like because I'm different, he not gonna do that to me. He gonna change. He gonna, you know, he gonna leave everybody he was dealing with and blah, 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 blah. All of that. And sis, it did not happen like that. He said that. But, you know, I mean, he was 19. So, I mean, a 19-year-old dude, no shade, but that's like 16 years old for real. For him, probably 13 mentally. But, yeah, you know, so it was horrible. It was long. It was a very long relationship. Even though it was only 4 years, it felt like forever. It felt like I was never going to get out of that relationship. It felt like I was never strong enough to get out of that relationship. And it was so many times that I just wanted to leave. And I did leave, but I always came back. Like, it was really a stronghold for me. And like, at that point, I didn't even know who I was anymore being with him. It was just so horrible. And I lost a lot of friends dealing with him. It even got to a point like I completely shut down from my family, because it was like every time I just didn't want them to know anything that was going on in that relationship, because I didn't want them to not like him, and I didn't want them to try to save me. It was crazy, but that's just the reality of it. And unfortunately, I was young, but another thing is that there's older people who going through this same situation. So there's not even an age limit on being in a toxic relationship or being naive in a relationship. It's not. And that's male or female. So I lost a lot being with him, and I sacrificed a lot being with him. I really was chasing after this guy. That's just what it was. I was chasing after him. I lost a good job dealing with him. I lost so many and missed out on so many opportunities because I was chasing up after him. Like, that's me being real. I was chasing up after him, was with him, and still was chasing up after him because I knew he wasn't doing right. But I stayed, and I couldn't even really blame him because I chose to stay. So, you know, in dealing with toxic relationships, you know, you change completely. You don't even recognize yourself anymore. You start doing stuff that you would never do prior to being in that relationship or thought you would ever do. So that's why it's so, like, never say what you won't do. Because I remember being young and be like, I'll never be with nobody that will call me out of my name. I never deal with no dude who put his hand. How she dealing with that? He put his hand. I would never. And everything that I said I would never do, I did and allowed. I did and I allowed. Like, it became such a norm for me for, you know, being called out my name, being cheated on, you know, being physically abused, being, you know, verbally abused. And it took a toll on me. And I didn't realize how much of a toll it took on me until after I had left that relationship. And it got to a point, probably like the last year I was with him is when I really was like just praying every day, you know, God help me to want to leave. God help me to have the strength and give me the strength to leave. Open my eyes, Lord. I see what you're doing. Help me to stop being in denial. Like, I was in such denial being with this person, like knowing clear as day that he was cheating. But he can be like, nah, I ain't cheating on you. That's my cousin. Why you telling your cousin you trying to link up and stuff like that? And me just being so dumb and just accepting that just because I wanted to be with him so bad. Like, it was crazy, you know, the stuff that you do when you in a sick relationship. It's just crazy, the stuff that you will put up with. So needless to say, like I said, we fought a lot. And it was to the point where, like, I'll be talking to somebody or a friend, they be like, he be putting his hands on you? Oh no, I had one of my ex-boyfriends had found out that me and him would fight, and he was like, he putting his hands on you? I was like, no, I don't be, he put his hands on me, but I don't be letting that nigga beat up on me. I be fighting him. I be fighting him back. Like listening to me say that now is just like, what? Like, what? You just, yeah. I had went from straight just innocent to straight just ratchet within months. Like, and didn't even know it. Like, everybody else looking at me like, what happened? I'm just like, what? I'm still me. Like, I had just completely had changed and didn't know until, like I said, I left the relationship. And when I say that, you know, Insidious stood out to me in that definition of what toxic is. An example was one day we were fighting, and I was actually driving. We was fighting. Like, I'm driving and we like full-fledged fist fighting, like just dumb stuff, just fighting, you know. And then I had parked the car, got out the car, parked the car, ran into, because we was living with each other at the time, ran into my apartment building and locked him out. And he was banging on the door, trying to get in. And I just remember my neighbors going off because it was like 3-4 in the morning. It was so late. Like, it was just always something going on with us. I'm surprised we didn't get put out that complex. But anyways, and it got to the point where he's just banging on the door to where I thought he was going to knock the locks off the door, because the door was like he just kept boom, 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 boom. And then he had stopped. So it was a couple of minutes where I didn't hear him on the door no more. So I go to look at the peephole, and I look at the peephole, and he's just standing there looking at the door, right? And you see how you see like the white. First of all, hold on, pause. I know y'all, those who are watching me on YouTube, trying to figure out why I ain't got no nails, like I'm missing nails. Just chill, relax. I got an appointment tomorrow. Just chill, just chill. I'm going to get it fixed, okay? Thank you. That was my disclaimer, okay? But yeah, I look at the peephole, and he's standing there, and you know how you have the white around your pupil or whatever. There was no white. His entire eyeballs were completely black. And my body every hair on my body was standing up. I was so terrified. And I grew up in it. Well, yeah, I grew up in the church. And we talk, you'll hear the pastor talking about demons and stuff like that, and people being possessed and all that. And you hear it, you watch the movies, but as a kid, you like, I believed it. But that day, I knew for sure that I was a believer, because I seen it right in front of my eyes. He was not himself. Like, it was like a demon had completely took over him, because all I saw was black. And the feeling that I felt, it just was like insidious, like just demonic. I was terrified. And I'm not a police caller. There were so many times we was in altercations, I just didn't. But that day I called the police, because I was terrified. Because I'm like, if this fool get through this door and he looking the way he looking, I'm not going to make it. I knew for a fact that I was not going to make it that night if he bust through that door. And I remember the 2 officers coming. One officer was it was a white guy, and it was a black guy. And the black guy had took me out and was like, why are you dealing with him? And I couldn't say anything. I just cried. And he was like, you don't have to deal with that, right? You don't have to deal with it. And he was like maybe a couple of years older than me. And he was just, the look on his face was just like, he was so disgusted. Like, why are you dealing with him? And he was like, we get phone calls like this all the time. And they always end up back together. And then the next phone call we get, we coming out to a crime scene, and we putting a female in the body bag. He was like, people don't, this relationships like this only end one way. And just him telling me that, I just cried even more, because you heard it before. You know what I'm saying? You've seen it on TV. And even with him telling me that and me being scared that night, I left, but only for a month, because I came right back, and we were right back together. And that's the part where I say, when somebody's engulfed and like deeply in it, you cannot say nothing to penetrate that person. Until they get tired, they're not going to leave. What you say is going to go in one ear and out the other. Like, you can keep giving advice, hopefully, hoping that one day it'll penetrate, but like, they have to get tired for themselves. And that's exactly what happened for me. Like, maybe a year later, I had just started, a couple of months before I had actually left him. I had started, I don't even think it probably was a month before I actually left him. I had just started praying. I was just like, Lord, help me to get out of this relationship. Help me to want to get out of this relationship. Help me to want to leave. Give me the strength to leave. Make a way of escape for me. Like, because I wanted to leave so bad, but it was always hard for me. I would leave and come right back. Like, and I just was like, Lord, when I leave this time, don't let me come back. Like, give me the strength not to come back. Give me the strength. Like, I just was like, I'm ready to be tired of him. Like, I know I need your help, because obviously what I'm doing is not working, because I'm still here, clearly. And I remember, like, it wasn't that long after me praying that for a couple of days, like every day, probably like a month later, one day, just one day, I had woke up and he was doing something. He was in the living room or something. And I had just looked at him and was just completely disgusted. Like, I was just like, to my stomach, like physically disgusted. Like, I felt like I was going to throw up just looking at him. That's how disgusted I was. I was over him. Like, I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm done. And like, he didn't believe that I was leaving until I left. And he was like, you'll be back. Never looked back, never came back. I left Maryland, like, which I love my hometown. I never came back for like, it was years. I'm talking like 5 to 6 years. Like, I was completely done. And even when I left, I didn't tell none of my friends. I didn't tell anybody. I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm coming home. I went down. I went down south because they were in Texas at the time. And I was like, I'm leaving. I don't even care. Like, I'm gone. I didn't care. Like, I probably carried enough stuff for a week. I left all my clothes, shoes. I left everything and I dipped. Like, that's how you know you tired, when you just don't even care. Which you don't even care. You gone. Like, you ain't tell nobody. Like, my homegirl had hit me up, like, probably like a week later. She was like, what you doing? I'm trying to go. I was like, girl, I'm in Texas. She was like, what? I didn't tell nobody. I just dipped. Like, I was done. I was tired. And I was just so thankful, you know, that he finally gave me the strength to actually leave and take that way of escape. Yeah, and that's when I thought I was done, because the weight had lifted off my shoulders and I thought I was done. Like, I was done with that relationship, but I didn't even realize how gone I was mentally until after I left him, and like, I had time to like really, you know, think about myself and see where I was. And then I just became very depressed because I didn't even know who I was. I didn't know how to get back to the old me. I didn't know how, like, I just didn't know how to be that in it. Like, I was completely just ratchet, just didn't even know that that's who I had turned into. Like, my glow was gone. Like, it was really, really sad. Like, I was very, like I said, very depressed, very insecure. Like, all women have some type of insecurity. Like, my butt not big enough, or like little stuff like that. But I was very insecure about everything. My hair, how I looked. I thought I was ugly. I was like, ugh, nobody's gonna want me. I'm all, you know, I let him abuse me. Like, it was really hard. And just really, really sad. The aftermath of that toxic relationship for me was horrible. It was worse than being with him. Like, just accepting everything that I allowed to take place while I was in a relationship. Then I just hated myself. I hated myself for staying in it for so long. I hated myself for even agreeing to be with him. Like, I hated myself for not, you know, I hated myself for dismissing the red flags. I hated myself for dismissing and basically just pushing it away, like the things that I know that he was doing wrong, just allowing it. I hated myself for letting all those years pass. I hated myself for just missing opportunities. I just hated myself. And I just fell in this deep, 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 deep depression for so long. It was a good 5 years where I was just so depressed. And like, I just remember my mom just like trying to help me get out of it. Like, and she couldn't help me. She couldn't help me, which broke her heart, which broke my heart. Like, I didn't want to cry, but it was so horrible. And like, just a year ago, I was able to forgive myself because I had forgiven him. You know, I had to forgive him to even to allow myself to forgive myself. And I just hated myself for allowing myself to be in that relationship. And like I said, just a year ago. And like even sometimes I revert back and just be like, why did I let so many years pass me? Because I feel like I should be further than where I am now. And what I'm struggling with now, this is real, is how to let go of the past and let the past be what it was. Like, I can't go back, like accepting I can't go back and change anything. You know, I just got to move forward. You have to move forward. You have to be consistent and focus on your future, you know. But I even wasted years of just hating myself for the past. Like, it's real. Life is real. Being in toxic relationships is real, and the aftermath from them can be so hard for some people. And I know for me, like I can say it was hard for me. It was harder. The aftermath was harder than actually being in the relationship, because I was so entangled in that relationship and I gave everything I had in me in that relationship. And I just felt like, you know, I wasted so many years. And then it got to a point where it was like, you know, what if I missed my husband, you know, because I was dealing with this fool, like, you know, because there was so many dudes, like so many good dudes after me, like legit, like good job, like trying to wife me. But you know, I just couldn't. I was blind because I thought I was in love with him when actually it was, you know, it was a sick love. It was sick. But, you know, I thank God that I was able to get out of it. Because like I said, some people don't make it out of it, especially when it's abusive. And not even just abusive, even when it's verbal, because some people kill themselves. You know what I'm saying? But that relationship, it was that bad. Like, there's some stuff I would never tell, you know, anyone what I went through in that relationship, because one, it was horrible and I wouldn't even speak on it. And then it's embarrassing for allowing myself to go through it. But, you know, I don't change it, because it's made me who I am today. It's taught me what I won't deal with in a relationship. And also, you know, I have a testimony to tell somebody else. You know, that's how I have to look at it. I didn't always feel this way, but now, you know, that I am still healing and I'm a lot further than where I was, because, whew, honey, I was a mess. Like, a depressed, mean, moody mess. And what kept me is, you know, my support system, my family, and God. That's how I healed and how I'm still healing from, you know, certain things that affected me, like mentally, and just like, honey, leave. Ask God to help you to leave. This is for fellas, my man too, because I know some men be in toxic relationships. I know some men that are in toxic relationships with females, and it's hard when you have deep feelings for that person. You just gotta ask God to help you to move on. That's the only thing. That's the only advice I can give, because that's what worked for me. I had to pray and ask God to help me move on. I had to get out of that relationship. But that's all I really have. I hope, me being transparent, because I am a very private, very, 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 very private person, and those who know me and that's close to me know that I am. But I feel like this story, that relationship, me being able to get out of that relationship was nothing short of amazing. It's a testimony. And I just hope that, you know, I can help somebody else. I hope it encourage somebody else, you know, who's going through that, to leave. And not just, you know, in a relationship where you're dating, but just any toxic relationship that you're dealing with. Put yourself first. And that's just what you have to do. Be selfish enough to put yourself first, because you deserve more. If they're not treating you the way that you need to be treated, and it's toxic, and y'all constantly get into it, and it's not fair, it's not fair how you being treated, and you giving more than what they giving you, ask God to help you leave, because you definitely deserve more. You deserve so much more. And yeah, toxic people are real. And it's real. That's all I can say. But yes, that's all I have, you all. Give me some feedback. What did y'all think about today's episode? leave me a message, send me a DM, leave me a comment under the video. I will be posting this on YouTube, Instagram. Of course, you can catch it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Amazon. I don't know if I named it already, but yes, check it out. And just let me know what you think. How did you get out of a toxic relationship? Are you still dealing with one? Do you need help? Or, you know what I'm saying, don't be scared to ask for help. You know what I'm saying? Don't be scared. Don't be scared. And if you know somebody that's in a toxic relationship, you know, just make sure you're always an ear. Because one day they're going to eventually hear you. Because I did. I eventually heard somebody who was really close to me. And that's what prompted me to start praying that prayer, to ask God to help me to get the strength to leave and make a way of escape for me. And like I said, it wasn't that long after where I woke up and was totally disgusted and was tired and got that strength. So it's possible. And yeah, that's it, you all. So be safe in them streets, okay? And make sure y'all vote. Vote, okay? It's critical. Life or death, literally. Make sure y'all vote, because the votes do count. I know some people be like, dang, the votes count, dog. Like, vote. Hello. Don't be so dumb that you just be oblivious to what's really going on and what's up, okay? So, bye, you all.